Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into one of those classic Star Wars hypotheticals, the ones fans love to debate. What happens when you pit, say, 10 battle-hardened clone troopers against 10 of those sleek First Order Stormtroopers? Straight up firefight. Who wins?
Yeah, and it's tempting to just think, blaster versus blaster, armor versus armor. But our mission today, using some really detailed battle simulation sources we dug into, is to go deeper. We're looking at experience versus tech, sure, but also like autonomy versus just raw indoctrination. The data was pretty interesting, actually.
Okay, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Starting with the combatants, the clone troopers. These guys were, literally born and bred for war. That was their whole purpose. And even though they're clones, genetically identical, right? Our sources, looking at their combat records, they really emphasized that experiences shaped them, made them individuals. They weren't just robots. They showed real initiative, could improvise. You just have to think about the Umbara arc, where they had to completely rethink tactics against, a traitorous Jedi general, or even Ryloth, that long, hard campaign. They adapted constantly.
Absolutely. And their training was top tier. We're talking Mandalorians, Republic commandos involved. These weren't rookies. They had years, actual years of live combat experience across the whole Clone Wars, facing droids, separatists, you name it. Their gear, that Phase 2 armor, maybe looks a bit bulky now, but it offered solid protection. Had the HUD, comms, filtration. It worked. And the blaster, the DC-15A, big, heavy, definitely. But it packed a serious punch, long range, too.
Okay, so that sets up the clones. Experienced, adaptable brothers, really. Now, let's flip that coin. First Order Stormtroopers, they weren't clones. These were kids taken from families, right? Conditioned practically from birth.
From toddler age, yeah. Total conditioning, brainwashing, really, for absolute loyalty to the First Order. No deviation allowed. Their gear's more modern, you have to give them that. The F-11D blaster, it's compact, high rate of fire, better targeting systems probably. And their combat suit, it's lighter, more ergonomic than the clone armor. And we know Phasma pushed them hard in training drills.
Intense training, sure. But what about actual fighting?
Well, that's the key difference our sources hammered home. They just lacked large-scale battlefield experience. Their action was more limited. Putting down resistance on some outpost, maybe a village purge like on Jakku. Nothing like the Clone Wars.
So it's the difference between training simulations and, the chaos of a real war zone.
Yeah.
Let's talk psychology then. For the clones, it's all about brotherhood, trusting the guys next to you implicitly.
Totally. They called each other brother. That bond was critical. For the First Order troopers, it just obey, follow the orders, follow the protocol, which leads to that big question. If a situation goes completely off script, if it breaks that rigid structure, do they think? Or do they just freeze up?
Finn is the obvious example there, isn't he? The conditioning cracks under real pressure, real moral conflict.
Exactly. When that rigid, top-down thinking hits actual battlefield chaos, it can shatter.
Right, let's picture the simulation itself. Our sources set it up. Neutral ground, an abandoned city sector, good mid-range cover, lots of rubble, places to get a vantage point. Importantly, no vehicles, no sneaky snipers, no Jedi popping in, just 10 on 10, teams start at opposite ends, know the enemy is there, high alert.
And right away, the difference in approach was, stark. The First Order guys. They moved in rigid formations, sticking to the book, following Protocol ABC, the clones, instantly broke into smaller fire teams, 2 groups of 5, maybe 4 and 6, using hand signals, reading the terrain, already thinking about where the enemy might be. They weren't just moving, they were anticipating, adapting from step 1.
Yeah, the simulation log showed the clones moving incredibly fast, using cover, almost flowing through the ruins, silent, strategic. There was this key moment early on. One clone fire team used hand signals, totally silent, and slipped around the flank of an advancing stormtrooper pair. Stormtroopers had no idea. Then, bam, first shot fired, contact.
And the First Order reaction, predictable. They regrouped, found cover, just like training dictates. But that's the thing, they were reacting, not adapting. The clones immediately capitalized, used bait and trap tactics, drew the stormtroopers into kill zones, overlapping fields of fire. What really won it, according to the data, was clone communication. Constant, efficient, real-time updates, coordinating fire, exploiting every mistake. Their reaction time in adapting to the flow of battle was just significantly faster than the First Order's fixed responses.
And the end result wasn't really close, was it? Final tally from the simulation. 3 clone troopers left standing, all 10 First Order Stormtroopers eliminated.
The verdict is pretty clear, The clones take it. And it's not just a gut feeling. The sources back it up. It wasn't necessarily that the First Order gear was bad, that advanced targeting on the F-11D is good on paper. But it didn't matter because the troopers using it couldn't or wouldn't make independent decisions under fire. They relied too much on the system. The clones just used what they had smarter. They thought on their feet.
Exactly. It boils down to that core difference we kept seeing in the analysis. It's about the headspace, isn't it? The instincts, the brotherhood. The clones, they live for war. It was their entire existence. First Order troopers were just told to fight. Big difference.
It really highlights how much genuine experience, that ability to think for yourself, and maybe that unit cohesion, how much that matters in a real conflict. It's not just about the shiniest tech. But here's something for you, the listener, to chew on. What if we changed the scenario? What if it wasn't standard clones? Maybe ARC troopers or First Order flame troopers? How might that change the outcome? What does this tell us about trooper specialization versus core training? Lots to think about there.